Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making a 1800s rural rustic Danish dish. Can I do any more letters together? I don't think I can, but it's a kind of classic Danish dish that they would make in like country kitchens back in the day. But in 2014, it was voted the national dish of Denmark. So I figured we're doing D for Denmark today. Might as well do their national dish. I don't know if this will be a good trend for countries going forward where I just find their national dish and try that, because it seems like a good thing to do. It's like they're saying to the world, here's the dish that we identify with. However, at the same time, I feel like if I do it wrong, I'm going to be insulting a whole country. But the dish itself is fried pork belly with parsley sauce, I believe is the full name. But the website that I got it from, which is a Danish website, has the Danish phrase for it, and I'm going to attempt to say it. I listened to Google Translate say it about 1,000 times, and then I found some other website of like pronunciation, both of them straight robots. The pronunciation wasn't that great, but I'm gonna just try and mimic them, and hopefully it is correct. And if not, I'm pretty sure I don't know anybody who's Danish, so nobody's gonna correct me. Anywho, the way to say it in ye old Denmark is steg flask med persille sauce. It's weird because their sauce is also sauce. I don't know how close I was, but that was my best effort. And to counter the devastation that was that pronunciation, I'm going to tell you a joke and some fun facts. So, what is the best part about Denmark? Well, I don't know, but the flag's a big plus. I'm gonna put the flag there so you can understand the joke if you don't know their flag. But on a more serious note, what I would argue is the best thing is they invented Legos in 1958. Like, that was my childhood, Legos. So thank you, Denmark, for making that. And another thing that will surprise everybody viewing, because I'm assuming everybody viewing is probably American, because we kind of view ourselves as being real big meat eaters. And apparently Denmark is the biggest consumer of like pork per person, not like in general, because we probably win that just by, well, maybe not. I don't know who like would be the biggest, but I would assume it's a larger country. But per person, Denmark consumes 70 kilograms per year. That's 154 pounds. That's like almost me every year that each Danish person consumes in pork. Like, for comparison, Americans eat, I think 50 pounds, or yeah, 50. So they eat 100 more than all of us per year. That's insane. Now that I've dropped that huge fact on you and your just mind's blown, why don't we run through the ingredients and then get to cooking? Pork belly, potatoes, Danish butter, but I already had Irish, so it's close. Flour, whole milk, heavy whipping cream, parsley, salt, pepper, and nutmeg. So this recipe, I'm gonna kind of blindly follow the order that they tell me to do things in, because some of them, it seems like it has like periods that it wants you to wait for. Like, this first step is going to be to cut the pork belly into 5 to 6 millimeter slices, which, spoiler alert, everything's in like the metric. So there's gonna be like meters, liters. I want something that rhymes, but the other thing is grams. There are some teaspoons and tablespoons, so that's kind of weird. I didn't realize that that would be kind of incorporated there, but be prepared to do some kind of conversion or turn your like measuring cups around and use the liter side. But this first step, it says to, like, after you do the slicing, you're going to pat it dry, put some salt and pepper on it, and then let it sit for a while. And it doesn't really give a time period, so I'm guessing that it wants it to sit while you're prepping and cooking everything else. So I'm gonna do that first, so I'm following the instructions, and hopefully it works out. Next is to peel the potatoes, and it calls for new potatoes, which are essentially just like small potatoes. And I'm assuming, because it just says potatoes, that they mean like Yukon Gold, because it does mention like, oh, you could leave the skin on and stuff like that. And that usually makes me lean towards like Yukon Gold, but it just says potato. So if you want to try a different potato, go for it. But the new just means like small, and only one of mine is small, and so the rest I'm going to just kind of cut down to that size, and then we're gonna cover it with cold water and then boil for 15 to 20 minutes on the stovetop. Okay, so now we're in a bit of needing to do some prep work. And because we're gonna need parsley and also what they call a butterball. Couldn't really find anything online to figure out what that means, but we need both of those, and because we're gonna start making the parsley sauce, and that's gonna involve kind of like standing over and stirring, so we can't really do prep work while that's happening. So I would say chop the parsley and then make the butterball, and then we'll get into the actual using of those items. So that butterball, I got a lot, I just assumed that because it just says butter and flour into a ball, or I can't remember how it's phrased now, but it just, to me, it implied putting the butter and the flour together into a ball. And so I tried to do that. It'll be fine. So I'm just gonna take the butterball that I have so far, put that on a hot pan, and kind of melt that down, and then once it's a bit more liquidy, then I'll just add the rest of the flour into that, keep it stirring, and then we're going to slowly add in a little bit of the milk at a time and continuously stir, and then just kind of let that thicken up, and I mean, essentially we're gonna now have a sauce. Now that the milk and the butterball that we have formed into what is actually called a bechamel, I think I pronounced that right. There's a lot of words today that I don't know, because they're in different languages that I do not understand. But that's just essentially a roux with milk, because that's what, I mean, milk or the flour and butter is the roux, milk, bechamel sauce. So now to that, we're going to add the heavy whipping cream, the parsley, and the nutmeg, and then also salt and pepper. And then we're gonna kind of stir that up and simmer for 5 to 10 minutes. Next is just the pork belly, and that's pretty easy. I'm just gonna use my cast iron skillet and heat it up, put them on there, and it's supposed to fry for like 2 minutes per side, and you wanna go for like a goldeny brown kind of appearance. All right, here we have it. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm pretty excited to try this. Now, my plan of attack. We're gonna do the potatoes with the parsley sauce, then the pork belly, then together to see if that elevates it to the next level. All right, so just the potato and parsley sauce. It's very good. I mean, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on in there, so the parsley really is kind of shining through. Most of the other things are relatively mellow flavors, but you know, it's a good taste. I'm kind of curious how like mashed potatoes with that on it, because to me it kind of feels a little bit like a gravy. But ooh, I'll save that for the end. I have an idea for, not necessarily like this would be like an entirely different dish, but I was gonna say an improvement. It's not an improvement because it would drastically change everything. But time for the pork belly. All right, let's give this a go. It was definitely good. In my head, I was kind of expecting more of like bacon flavor, but I mean, I guess it's a little bit there. It's kind of like a cross between like a pork chop and bacon in terms of a flavor there. But once again, like it doesn't really have like strong flavors to it. So I feel like this is kind of, you know, I guess I'm used to like a lot of like spices and stuff like that, or something in my dishes. So this one isn't really hitting a lot of that, but let's try it together. We'll see if that takes it to the next level. All right, I'll just drop that. Got it all on one fork. Let's give this a go. Honestly, I think that's the move. Maybe I'm supposed to put some of the sauce on top of the pork belly as well, because the parsley with like the pork belly flavor, that kind of took it to like another level that was not really there previously. So that was, I think that's the move. Like you gotta kind of pile everything together, and that's the way to eat it. All that being said, I mean, this is another one where it's kind of like on the fence. So I'll give it a 3.5. I know it's the national dish. I feel like I probably messed it up, but it just didn't like have the flavors that I was looking for. Which granted, I do realize now, it just came to me, that I forgot to put the salt and pepper in the sauce until like the end, instead of kind of having it simmer with it in there. So this one might be on me. I might need to try this again to give it a good rating. But with what I've done, I'm gonna give it a 3.5, where it's not bad. Like this was a pretty easy meal. I can kind of whip this up pretty quick. But like the flavor wise, it wasn't quite like what I was expecting. Now my idea for changing things up a little bit is if you use the fat rendered from cooking the pork belly to make like a roux with the butter and flour, and then make a gravy from that. And I don't know if like you can like incorporate like all the steps. Like I don't know if you can just put like the fat drippings from that into the parsley sauce without that causing an issue there. But I feel like mashed potatoes with like that, ooh. But like I said, that's pretty much an entirely different dish. You're going down like an entirely different path. But it does sound tasty. So I might have to try that at another point. I'll have to try and do it authentically one more time, and then I'll have to try and do my own flair and see how that goes. And maybe I'll probably just try and do the fat at the beginning with like the butter and stuff, and then just make the sauce like that and see if that adds like another kind of layer of flavor there. Lots of new things to think about, a whole new world. While I was researching this one, there's a lot of recipes out there. I'm kind of curious. There's a dessert one that I might make. It's a traditional like Christmas pastry, I think it was what it was, and I found a gluten-free version on the King Arthur website. So that might be coming in December. Lots of good experience from this one. Even though it wasn't like through the roof, it was still kind of great learning, lots of good facts that I picked up while kind of researching this one, and overall like a good time. So I'd say give it a go and maybe try your own twist on it to give it a little pow, or not, because I mean sometimes you just want a mild meal. You don't want it to hit you in the face. And on that note, bye Mom, still not dead. See ya.